There are painful truths about life that most people would rather avoid. Truths that, once you see them, will burn away the illusions you've built around yourself. How many times have you convinced yourself that hard work always pays off, that people are fundamentally good, or that life is just a matter of luck? What if I told you those beliefs are exactly what keep you stuck in a cycle of disappointment and self-deception? The truth is harsher than you think, and it's exactly the kind of wisdom the Stoics embraced. They didn't sugarcoat reality. They saw through the games people play, the lies we tell ourselves, and the way we let our emotions and desires control us. Once you understand these lessons, you'll see through the masks, the manipulation, and the illusions that everyone else is still clinging to. Are you ready to wake up and finally face reality, no matter how uncomfortable it is? If you're ready to challenge yourself, to stop hiding behind comforting lies and embrace the truth that leads to true freedom, then consider subscribing. It's a commitment to your own growth, to seeking wisdom, and to discovering the strength to face the world as it really is. Lesson 1. People are driven by emotions, not logic. We like to think of ourselves as rational beings, making decisions based on careful thought and logical reasoning. But let's face it, how often do we actually make decisions like that? The truth is, most of the time our emotions drive us more than we realize. Emotions are powerful, sometimes overwhelming forces that influence what we do and how we see the world. They shape our actions, often before our rational minds even have a chance to step in. How many times have you made a purchase you didn't need or agreed to something you didn't want, simply because it felt right in the moment? That's emotion, not logic. Emotions aren't inherently bad, though. In fact, they provide valuable insight into what matters to us. It's how we respond to those emotions that makes all the difference. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, understood this deeply. He reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. What Marcus means is that while we can't control the emotions we feel, we can control how we respond to them. Emotions can be powerful guides if we learn to observe them without letting them control us. Instead of reacting impulsively, the Stoic practice is to pause, reflect, and then act. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It's about recognizing them, understanding where they come from, and using them as a tool, not a weapon. When you can do that, you'll find that your decisions become much clearer and less likely to be clouded by fleeting feelings. Emotions don't have to be an obstacle. They can be a source of insight and a tool for better decision-making. Understanding that most people are driven by emotions can also help you navigate social situations more effectively. In disagreements, for instance, people often aren't arguing over the facts. They're defending their pride or their ego. Once you see this pattern, you stop wasting energy trying to win the logical debate and instead focus on understanding the emotional drivers at play. The key is to develop the pause, the space between feeling and reacting. That moment gives you the opportunity to choose a response that aligns with your true values, not just a reaction to a passing emotion. It's this kind of emotional awareness that separates those who live on autopilot from those who live with intention. When you can master this, you won't just understand others more clearly, you'll understand yourself better too. Lesson 2. Everyone acts in their own self-interest. How many times have you been surprised when someone you thought was being kind or selfless turned out to have their own agenda? Maybe a friend offered you help, but later you realized they were just trying to win your favor or get something in return. It's easy to feel disappointed, thinking that people should act out of pure goodwill. But here's the truth. Everyone acts in their own self-interest, whether consciously or not. This isn't a criticism of humanity. It's just how we're wired. We all act based on what benefits us, even if that benefit isn't immediately obvious. Take a step back and think about it. Every action we take, every decision we make, is in some way motivated by our own interests, whether it's the desire for approval, personal gain, or even just peace of mind. It's not inherently wrong to act out of self-interest, but recognizing it allows you to better understand people and predict their behavior. A simple example of this is when someone offers you advice or help. On the surface, it may seem like a generous gesture, but often there's something more going on. Maybe they're hoping to gain your trust for a future favor, or they're seeking recognition for their kindness. It doesn't make them a bad person, it's just human nature. This doesn't mean you should approach life with distrust or cynicism. Far from it. It simply means you should learn to see things for what they truly are. Understanding self-interest doesn't turn you into a pessimist. It makes you a realist. You'll stop expecting people to act against their nature, and you'll start recognizing opportunities to align your interests with theirs. This makes interactions smoother and more productive, as you're no longer trying to change people, but rather learning how to work with them. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." This is a powerful idea because it reminds us that recognizing the self-interest of others can teach us about our own desires and motivations. When we accept that people act based on their interests, we gain insight into our own behaviors. We begin to see where we might be motivated by self-interest as well, and that self-awareness is the first step toward personal growth. The danger comes when we expect others to act selflessly without understanding their motivations. Once you accept that everyone is driven by their own needs and desires, you can make smarter decisions, manage expectations, and build better, more honest relationships. It's not about exploiting others for your own benefit. It's about understanding the game people are playing and finding ways to play it to your advantage while remaining true to your own values. By doing this, you become more strategic, more aware, and ultimately more in control of your life. Lesson 3. Most people can't handle the truth about themselves. Let's face it, most of us aren't great at handling the truth about ourselves. It's uncomfortable, it burns, it forces us to confront things we'd rather not see. We all like to live in our little bubbles, surrounded by the narrative we've carefully constructed about who we are. It's much easier to maintain that story than it is to confront the uncomfortable facts. But here's the thing, the truth doesn't care about your comfort. It's not concerned with your ego or your image. The truth just is. Think about it. When was the last time someone told you something about yourself that you didn't want to hear? Maybe it was a critique from a friend or a colleague. Perhaps it was something you knew deep down but weren't ready to face. The natural response for most people is defensiveness. It's like an instinct. We quickly try to explain, justify, or deflect the criticism. Why? Because accepting that truth would mean admitting something we don't want to acknowledge. But the longer we avoid the truth, the more we limit our own growth. The Stoics understood this all too well. Marcus Aurelius, for example, was known for his brutal self-examination. In his writings, he often reflected on his own weaknesses and flaws, not to beat himself up, but to improve. He wrote, "How much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself." Marcus knew that growth required facing uncomfortable truths, even about himself. It's not about being perfect, it's about being honest. And when you can be honest with yourself, that's when real change begins. Most people avoid honesty because it requires vulnerability. It's much easier to stay in denial, to surround ourselves with people who tell us what we want to hear, and to protect our fragile sense of self. But this only keeps us stuck in the same patterns. If we never confront the truth about who we are, we can never change. It's a harsh reality, but it's a necessary one if you want to improve. The Stoics practiced a kind of brutal self-honesty. They weren't afraid to admit their faults, and they didn't shy away from confronting uncomfortable truths. They understood that without this self-awareness, they couldn't truly live according to their values or grow into the best versions of themselves. Epictetus reminded us, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. In the same way, we can't always control what others say about us, but we can control how we respond to the truth about ourselves. Do we face it and grow, or do we run from it and remain stuck? When you stop running from the truth, you stop being a prisoner of your own illusions. You take back control of your life. And that's where the real power lies. It's not in being perfect, it's in being honest, vulnerable, and willing to change. Only then can you truly become the person you were meant to be. Lesson 4. Success will make some people hate you. Here's a bitter truth. As you start to rise, some people will begin to resent you. It's not because you've done anything wrong, but because your success forces them to confront their own inadequacies. It's like a mirror that reflects their lack of progress, and not everyone can handle seeing that. They'll start comparing themselves to you, feeling threatened by your achievements, and even resenting you for doing what they couldn't. This isn't about jealousy in the traditional sense. It's deeper than that. It's about the discomfort that comes when someone else's success highlights your own unfulfilled potential. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, understood this dynamic well. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Marcus was constantly under attack. His reign was filled with wars, betrayals, and internal conflicts. Yet he focused on maintaining his inner peace, no matter how others reacted to his success. He recognized that resentment from others had nothing to do with him and everything to do with the insecurities of those around him. His wisdom teaches us that success should not be measured by the approval of others, but by our ability to stay true to our values and maintain peace within ourselves. You see, success creates a mirror. It reflects the insecurities, failures, and missed opportunities in others, forcing them to either confront their shortcomings or find a way to discredit you. It's uncomfortable for many people to face the reality that someone else is achieving what they couldn't. But rather than taking it personally, you can choose to rise above it. Understand that this behavior has nothing to do with you, but with the internal battles others are fighting. Carl Jung also delves into this idea when he said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." When you reach a certain level of success, some people will try to tear you down, not because they hate you, but because your success challenges their own self-image. They struggle to accept their limitations, and your achievements force them to confront what they haven't accomplished. Instead of celebrating your success, they react defensively. They try to minimize your achievements, discredit your work, or even undermine your value. The key is recognizing that their reaction is more about them than it is about you. So, what do you do when this happens? First, don't take it personally. People's reactions are reflections of their inner struggles, not your shortcomings. Second, keep pushing forward. The more you rise, the more you'll face resistance, but that's also a sign that you're on the right path. The Stoics remind us that success should never be defined by external validation, but by our ability to remain grounded in our own values. Your progress is yours to claim, and no one else can take that away from you. In the end, success isn't about making everyone happy. It's about staying true to yourself, continuing to grow, and not letting the negativity of others derail you. Lesson 5. Everyone is trying to sell you something. Have you ever had a conversation with someone only to realize halfway through that they were just trying to sell you something? It could be a product, an idea, a favor, or even just validation for something they've done. It's subtle, but it's there. We've all been there. Someone offering unsolicited advice, pushing a product, or buttering you up before asking for a favor. And once you recognize this pattern, you'll start seeing it everywhere. It's not that people are being malicious, it's just that every interaction is an attempt to influence you in some way. Whether they're aware of it or not, everyone is trying to sell you something. The Stoics were keenly aware of human behavior and understood that people are constantly trying to influence each other. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He understood that we are constantly being influenced by others, whether we realize it or not. The challenge is learning to guard our minds, to be selective about where we direct our energy, and to be conscious of what we let into our thoughts and lives. When you realize that every interaction has an underlying motive, you